This is video number 3 of our original Pacific series, and we were going to go on with the Allied, but nothing's really happened with them because I couldn't envisage any movements that were going to be effective as combat movements. Before I just show what's happened there, I should mention that I have made a mistake and I corrected it again. We did have a rogue IPC missing from the Australian UK economy. I've now found it again. They're back up to their 19. All that's really happened for the Australian and English forces, they come forward from India into Burma, from Burma into Shan State, really just to get themselves prepared for an attack against French Indochina and Siam. Their fleet has moved down and around the outside, and the whole fleet is trying to move forward into this Java Sea zone. They've got a couple of combat air patrols going off to try to mitigate any Japanese movements coming through too early, figuring safety in numbers. To that end, they've put some fleet into this sea zone just south of Papua, very close to the Japanese here, but we are asking our American friends, who are obliging, to come forward and attack those, whilst the Australian the UK are building up. They're going to be moving units forward when they can, but until then it's a holding exercise, trying to avoid looking too weak, although they're not that strong. Let's have some fun with the Americans now, shall we, and start throwing some dice around. There's some mini battles going off here. They've made their purchase, the Americans, about 74 of the 75 IPCs available, going for big range bombers, the B-17s, and some Marines, and a fighter to replace the one that we may lose in combat. We're going to lose more than that, I'm sure, but we're going to be hitting. Let's just do this in a south to north order. We'll use this Samoa fleet here. It's going to come across 2 sea zones, 1, 2, with its carrier, a couple of planes, and a destroyer. It can get in there just like this and attack this Japanese fleet here. That will go on the board as defending at 4, defending at 2, because subs defend at 2 in this game, and their transport get a defence as well. On the American side, they will have their 2 fighter planes and a destroyer and a submarine that will get a first strike because there's no Japanese destroyer involved in this battle. We're hoping it's going to be successful. If it is successful, we'll be moving this carrier in afterwards. But we're just holding off just to make sure things go to plan before we commit an expensive piece to that sea zone. So let's get ourselves ready to rock and roll. We will do the surprise strike by the American submarine first. It's rolling in at 2s, and it misses. Nice. It's 2 aircraft, rather. I've just put that destroyer in the wrong place. It should be on the 3 register because and that's what they do in this game. So we have 1 black dice that represent the 3 for the destroyer, and 2 dice that represents the air attacks. And they've all missed. Okay, this attacking roll is not good. Let's hope it's not as infectious as the last time. So for the American side, that is, because we're being American this time around, we will have a battleship defending at 4 and the submarine defending at 2s, and we will do the transport separate at the end. So this submarine scores a hit. Okay, that's going to be 1 off the Americans. It can't hit the air units because it's a submarine, so I think we will take it on the submarine, so we can still hit their submarine afterwards. I was considering going onto the destroyer, but we then couldn't see their submarine, and they would get the surprise strike. Yep, that's about to do it. And now the 1 Japanese transport vessel. Man alive! 1s are hot again. This is, if you saw the last couple of videos, 1s have been hot. So America lose their destroyer as well. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So but they can't pull off now, can they? You can't. It would be sacrilege. So 2 American fighters Oh, good. If we continue with this battle, now we can move the carrier to safety afterwards in a non-com move. That is completely legal because we have assigned. It has no movement yet, and the planes could get back and land on it without it moving. So, 2 planes at 3s. They both miss. The Japanese battleship, it misses. The Japanese submarine cannot hit the air units, so that's not a problem. But the Japanese transport, it misses. We've got to risk it again. Effectively, this submarine is out of the battle because America can't see it. So, we're going to go again. America's 2 fighters are buzzing around in the air there, trying to hit at 3s. And they get 2 hits. So, I think quite quickly, one will be taken on the battleship, and one will have to go onto that transport vessel. This isn't involved in the battle, as we just said, but they will get a reply. The Japanese battleship at 4 gets a hit, and the transport doesn't get a hit. So left on this battle board now, that is now sunk, that is out of the battle, and this is on its side, and 1 American fighter is lost. We've got to go again because the capital ships are repaired for free immediately after the battle. We can't let it survive. That's it. It's imperative. So we will roll 1 American fighter at 3s. It misses. The Japanese battleship, it scores a hit. Oh dear, that's good for Japan. So America have lost fighters again, and Japan get this vessel righted that will go back into the sea zone, and a submarine that will go back into the sea zone. All they've lost from that is 1 transport ship. This Allied shipping here is now looking a lot more vulnerable than it was just a couple of minutes ago. Let's have a look at the next battle. Take the flight mark off of that. That's not going to work. We have this one carrier here, 1 transport here. That's going to be moving that way very quickly, along with its friend, the aircraft carrier. Next battle we go just one sea zone northwards of where we were before, or where we were going to go. We take these 2 planes here. They've come off the American mainland. 1, 2, 3. They can get to Midway and attack this 1 destroyer that's here in Midway. It's been queued up. They have 1 flight left that can get them back to Pearl Harbor afterwards, should they survive. And, well, why shouldn't they? Why wouldn't they not survive, you know? So, it is 2 American fighters rolling at 3s, and 1 Japanese destroyer defending at 3. So, roll them all together. And, well, the destroyer's been hit twice. It's gone down anyway. And 1 American plane is hit as well because the ones are hot. So we will remove the destroyer from the game. We will remove the 1 American plane from the game. We're putting back in their sea zone with a 1 fuel marker to allow them to get back to there. I'll take that little arrow off as well, not to confuse things too much. And this arrow here is really showing that we're going to be moving this lot non-com into Hawaii. Whether it's all the destroyers and the carrier, it's certainly going to be a lot of the infantry we can get over to there as well. But also the factory on Hawaii can build infantry, artillery, planes, anything but shipping, which makes Hawaii a very powerful place, or any forward factory a very powerful place. So flying in from Hawaii is this 1 B-17 and this 1 fighter. We've got a 4 and a 2 left on their movements, and this 1 fighter from Midway can also reach there. It will have 2 left on its movements. And this B-17 from the mainland can go 1, 2, 3, 4, also attack the Japanese fleet here, and then 5, 6 back to Pearl Harbor for its safe demonstrated landing. In there, and I shall stop this video and shove them all over onto the board because it's too many to fumble around with. 6 fighters, 3 carriers, and a destroyer. Good luck, America. Well, here it is on the battle board, and I got to admit it is uglier than a bullfrog chewing a wasp. But there is method in this madness. What America Land are attempting to do is to get as much damage as they can do on their first strike, because they're going to be rolling in first against all this Japanese forces, is reducing down some of this bog. We're going to hope to be getting 1 or 2 planes bashed. Maybe, if we're very, very, very lucky, we get 3 or 4 planes and maybe some shipping done. That's going to be decided on all the dice rolls. Obviously, Japan loads at 4s, loads at 3s. America in trouble, but America have got this big buy. They're coming in at 72 IPCs per turn at the moment. They can afford these losses that Japan cannot afford. Should we have waited till round number 2 to put up a bigger force and go forward in one large lump? Well, you can always wait, but let's get on with it. So having said that, we now have got 2 American bombers rolling in at 4 and 2 fighters rolling in at 3s. That rolled off the board, so it doesn't count, but we got 3 hits there, 3 hits off of Japan. So that's a massive big start. Japan, I think, will have to take 2 hits on 2 fighters, and I'm thinking about 1 on the destroyer, but America do have a couple of submarines nowhere nearby right now. Destroyers are cheaper than fighters, so we're going to lose the destroyer. Okay, in response, hold your breath, gird your loins. We have 6 dice, and I haven't got enough of the same colour. Not on this this grab of dice that we're using. I think these are actually D-Day dice. They're very funky. We have 6 fighter planes, all at 4s. Versus the 4 American units. Looking at 4s. Just the 2 damage. He says just the 2 damage, but it's 2 damage. So 2 American fighters will go straight away. I shall slide them back off the board. And then we have 4 at 3, which is the 3 carriers and the 1 destroyer. It doesn't actually matter, but just for form, we know what we're using what for. And I think Japan are about to give them what for. Even more than that. They give them what 5? They've missed. They've all missed. So the plan from America Land semi-worked. Now, we have reduced down 2 Japanese fighters. We have taken away 1 destroyer. They have weakened that fleet. If America press this attack, they could do another 2 lots of damage. If they are successful, 2 more planes go down, maybe an expensive carrier. I like rolling dice. I'm in 2 minds as to whether bring them back to Hawaii and wait for these 2 planes to be built and come on board in Hawaii in the mobilization phase. We're here to roll dice. We like rolling dice. Let's roll 2 American bombers. 2 at 4, and I'm going to use 2 hands to shake these because we want a good bit of shaking. 2 American bombers at 4 versus the remainder of this fleet. 2 hits, man alive! That is superb. Now I think we're going to have to take it on the slightly cheaper planes, but it does then leave the aircraft carriers vulnerable, because aircraft carriers are 18, fighters only cost 12, I think it's in this version. So we're going to lose 2 more Japanese fighters. Obviously they'll get their return strike first. We have the 4 remaining fighters to roll in at 4s. Good luck to the B-17 pilots. And they both go down. Well, it was a calculated risk, but I think the result has justified the thinking. It may be some very abstract thinking, it may be some tardy thinking, but we did put some thought into it. Let me get this back up on the board and have a quick look at what we were doing over in China versus Japan. That is the end of turn number 1. We put number 2 on the dice now. So for next time, we know where we are in the game. This is how America have ended up by moving their fleet up from the Samoa, or rather that one aircraft carrier, forgot what it was called then, up into Pearl Harbor. The fleet's come across from San Francisco. That's coming into here as well. We built some planes here. Fighters don't get put onto carriers in this game. Even if the carrier is adjacent in the sea zone, they have to go into the factory. But we've got some infantry artillery. Some have moved across from the States. Some have been built in here. I think Marines were built in there. And we put a couple of fish further out in the water to help to persuade this now rather depleted Japanese carrier fleet to go back to from whence it came. I'm not so sure whether they're going to be so willing to move this fleet back. They may be more aggressive towards the Allied here. But we'll see what happens for Japan in turn number 2, which is upcoming. And all that's happened over in China itself, no attacks from America or China there. There's been a shuffle forward into Suiyan, and the 2 Flying Tigers moved into Quichao. They're not protected by any infantry. It's a kind of an attempt to see whether Japan want to try and fly some planes over into there. But also, if they're more centralised, they can come down and they can attack Hong Kong with some Chinese forces, or they can start helping to attack the French Indochina. So it's more of a positional shuffle than anything else with those 2 Flying Tigers. That is it for turn number 1, and I will see you in turn number 2 when Japan get its boxing gloves on. The collective thinking for Japan's start of turn number 2, they're purchasing 1 plane and a couple of infantry artillery, saving themselves 6 IPCs for their next purchase, which should be more along the lines of shipping. And to that end, they are moving this depleted fleet that's in Wake Island. It's going to go to the Carolines. We were thinking of Marianas, but in the Carolines we can get fighters into here to land on those aircraft carriers, and a couple of destroyers in there to protect against these couple of American submarines, which are going to come over and try to do some bashy things. In return, Japan are doing some bashy things of their own. They're going to have a go at this fleet here that belongs to the British Australians. They get a couple of fighters in there and bombers. They've come down from the Caroline Islands themselves and can return there to get back onto those carriers. That's quite important. And over in the main, or the Chinese border, this is going to be some shuffling. We're going to shuffle troops down non-com because we're taking the 1 infantry off of Malaya into Sumatra and having a over-the-top attack with navy bombardments and fighter planes to make sure we grab those 3 IPCs, economically start damaging the Australian economy, as well as grabbing the IPCs for ourselves by taking the convoy route, and taking 4 off of the bonus economy by putting this battleship into this piece of water up here. We're also going to be attacking Suiyan and shuffling units across the top as well. That will be non-com and com, or other way around. And we've got 1 strategic bombing raid on the British Indian factory over there in Calcutta. So let me get the first one on the board and I will see you there. Here it is on the battle board. This is the fight in the seas south of Papua. But before that, we will just nip across to the factory up there in Calcutta and get that strategic bombing raid sorted out first, because it's an easy one to do. First of all, there are no fighters, either escort or defending, so all it's going to be is 1 anti-aircraft fire, trying to hit at ones, and ones have been so successful this time round, they can't work this time. Nice. And so's the economic damage done to the British Indian economy, taken directly from their bank, will be 4 IPCs. I'm going to move that dice over onto their monies to remind me, and I'll sort that out later on. Let's get back onto this battle now. Japan being very aggressive here with their bomber and their battleship. They're going to roll in at 4s. They have 2 fighters at 3 plus 1 destroyer at 3. So we have to do this separately because of what can hit this submarine. They can all hit the submarine because we've got a destroyer. That's what was I thinking of. So 4s and 3s. The 4s have missed, but the 3 3s have all hit. Now, We also have one submarine in the water as well. We can roll one dice for that and decide just how many casualties we take off. Let's roll one individual dice for the submarine just to finish everything off. It gets a hit. Oh man alive, that's pretty superb. So I've got no choices there. Everything is wiped out. Except they do get their return fire first. Of course, we've got to do that for form, haven't we? So we have one destroyer at 3 for the British Australians. It misses. They have their one submarine at 2. It also misses. And 2 defending transports. This could be the first overriding success for the Japanese this turn, or this game. Oh, they took 1 hit. Okay, they got to hit something. So, being as though the British Australians do have a destroyer, the Japanese can take it off of 1 submarine. Let me tidy that back up onto the board and we'll look at the Sumatra sea landing. Of course I was being stupid there, wasn't I? The battleship for Japan. It could take that 1 hit itself and be rewrited after the battle. So I've readjusted that and put the submarine back on the board for the Japanese. It is quite important because whilst they do have a nice little fleet there, when those planes disappear, it won't look quite as strong. And the British Australian forces do have 2 submarines here. These fish in the water could get up to there and could cause some problems, but we're not envisaging too much problems. But then again, the Australians thought they were safe there, so we have to see how that one plays out. I'm also not going to bother putting the Japanese pieces on the battle board for this battle in Sumatra because there's only 1 British guy there. I'm just going to roll the dice. Everything I say is going to go in there is going to go in there. But we don't want to get too much moved around today because it's too hot for moving things around. We have the 1 destroyer that's going to do its bombardment. It's just up to the Brits whether he can defend at 2 and see if he can hit the incoming Japanese infantry. And he can. Oh, nice. That's a turnip for the cooks. Well, that's the result of that attempt at Sumatra. We didn't get in there. We were being a bit speculative, that 1 in 3 chance that the Brits would hit. But obviously, when you've got to roll a low number, it's rolling today quite nicely. So we haven't grabbed those 3 from Sumatra, but we have taken them away from the Australian economy because we are going through this sea zone. And we've taken 4 of the British convoy, the British bonus convoy, the British bonus from this convoy centre. So, I did say we were attacking Sui Yan. We're attacking from Sui Yan into Shansai. These are the pieces involved. Again, overwhelming odds, we would hope. We have 2 at 3 from the tank and from the fighter first. And we will have 2 at 2 and 1 at 1. So, there's your 2 at 3 from the tank and the fighter. There's 2 at 2 from the infantry and artillery combination. And there are 3 Chinese guys defending in there. So 1 of those is hit, 2 is hit, 3 is hit. We haven't got to use the individual guy on his own either. So China have been knocked out of Shansai. In defence, they have 3 guys all rolling at 2s. And they do get 1 hit, which would be 1 Japanese infantry. I'll account for that straight away and put everything back on the board, sort out the non-com moves, and next up will be the British moves or the UK moves, but that I think will be in the next video. So until then, be cool.